What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and in this video I'm going to give you 5 reasons why the Michigan Wolverines will beat the Alabama Crimson Tide in the college football playoff semifinal. And before I start this video, this is not an official prediction. This is simply like 5 reasons to why Michigan can beat Alabama in the college football playoff semifinal. Basically, it's like keys to the game here for all these playoff teams and how they can beat their opponents in the college football playoff semifinal. So yeah, we're going to start with Michigan today, why they can beat Alabama in the college football playoff semifinal. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why they can beat Alabama in the college football playoff. And again, I'm going to do the same thing with the other teams in the playoff. I'm going to do Washington tomorrow, then I'll do Texas on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I'll do Alabama. So stay tuned for the rest of those teams' 5 reason videos coming out throughout the rest of the week. But let's get right into it with Michigan here. 5 reasons why Michigan will beat Alabama here in the college football playoff semifinal. Again, not saying they're going to. These are just simply like keys to the game here of how Michigan can beat Alabama. Let's get into the 5 reasons here. We'll start from the bottom and work our way to the top. We'll start with number 5 here. Number 5 has to be the offense for Michigan. So you look at offensively for Michigan this year, I should say the last 3 years, this Michigan offense has been very consistent, and they've also been inconsistent at times. But this offense for Michigan, in my opinion, is like close to being one of the best in the country. Not the best in the country this year, but last year they were really close to being first in the country. And then the year before, they were right there with the most explosive offenses in the country as well. This will be a tough task, though, for this offense for Michigan. They're going up against an Alabama defense that's gotten better in the second half of the year. The offensive line has to be a factor in this game as well if they're going to win this game. But I think Michigan's offense is really good enough to get past this Alabama defense. Are they going to score points? I mean, that's really going to be the obvious question there. Can they score points against this Alabama defense? We've seen over the years under the Nick Saban era and the Alabama Nick Saban era and everything, we've seen Alabama's defense really be dominant at times, and then we see them inconsistent at times. And that was like for the first half of the year for Alabama's defense. But the second half of the year, they've been more dominant. They're not like a top 10 defense, but they're like at least in the top 20 at least and everything. But this Michigan offense, I think they're really good enough to, get past this Alabama defense. I think they will score points in this game, but it may be a low-scoring type game. Again, I'm going to make predictions for the playoff semifinal games in like 3 weeks. I think they'll be coming right after Christmas, so stay tuned for those prediction videos coming out for the playoff games. But again, this is a really big reason here. This is a really big reason why I think Michigan can beat Alabama. It's just because of their offense. Again, the offense is not very explosive this year, but at times we've seen Michigan's offense be very explosive, and then at times we've seen them not very explosive. But they've been very consistent on the offensive side of football. So this is my number 5 reason, Michigan's offense here to beat Alabama in the college football playoff. Moving on to number 4. Number 4 has to be the quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. So J.J. McCarthy has had a big year this year. Obviously, he's the reason why he's led this Michigan team to back-to-back college football playoff appearances. And also, he's led them into back-to-back Big Ten championships and also back-to-back wins against rival Ohio State. He's had a pretty good career at Michigan. This year, you look at his stats, about 19 touchdown passes and about 4 interceptions. So he's been taking care of the football pretty well. We haven't really seen him throw the football that much, though, in some games this year. Like, really, to be honest, in that Penn State game, he didn't really throw that ball that much. But in the Ohio State game, he had to really throw it because Ohio State's defensive line was really good at stopping the run. The running game did get past the defensive line of Ohio State, but J.J. McCarthy had to use his arm in that game a few times in that game against Ohio State. But again, J.J. McCarthy is the reason why Michigan is the number 1 seed. He's also the reason why they've had a really successful season this year. And that's why they've been so dominant in the last 2 years of the Big Ten. J.J. McCarthy will go up against another really good defense of Alabama. He's been going up against really good defenses in the last 2 games now. They get 3 straight now because they're playing against Alabama's defense. If J.J. McCarthy can get the ball out of his hands on time in this game, he's definitely going to have like an A-plus type of game. But if he doesn't get the ball out of his hands on time, he's probably going to struggle, and that offensive line for Michigan probably will struggle as well. But again, if the offensive line can really, give J.J. McCarthy plenty of time, he'll play like a really good game. He's definitely going to have to play his best game here in this one in order to lead Michigan to a national championship. We saw the nerves last year for J.J. McCarthy, but I think the nerves this year are not really a big problems. So Michigan here, again, has to rely on J.J. McCarthy to make the right decisions. And again, J.J. McCarthy has to deliver some really consistent throws down the field as well. So again, J.J. McCarthy was in the playoff last year. I think he had a little bit of nerves in that TCU game, and that's, I think, the reason why Michigan lost last year. But I don't think he has the nerves this time. But again, he's going up against like another really talented defensive team, and that's Alabama. He had to play Ohio State and Iowa in like those back-to-back Big Ten games. But I think he is kind of over it now. I don't think he has any nerves going into this game against especially a really good Alabama defense. So J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback here, is my number 4 reason why I think Michigan can beat Alabama. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is the defensive line for Michigan. This is one of the top defensive lines in the country. They are absolutely loaded with talent on that defensive line. They are going to have a big game in this one. Alabama's offense has gotten better as of late. They can run the football pretty well. The defensive line for Michigan is really good at stopping the run, and they played really well in the Big Ten championship game against Iowa back in early December when they played that Big Ten championship and everything. And that's also the reason why Michigan is going to the college football playoff this year, is just because the defensive line is really dominant. Again, this is one of the top defensive lines in the country. Ohio State is up there in the top 5, and so is Iowa's defense, but maybe also Alabama's up there. But again, this is one of the top defensive linemen in the country. Again, they're loaded with talent on that side of the football. And, they're going up against a quarterback of Jalen Milroe against Alabama. If they do put the pressure on him and probably make him, throw the football away, that's definitely going to be a win there for this defensive line for Michigan. But, again, going up against, a running quarterback is pretty hard, for some of these defensive teams. I don't think we've seen Michigan go up against, a running quarterback a lot this year, so this will kind of be the first test to see if they could stop Jalen Milroe at running the football anyway. But again, this is one of the top defensive linemen in the country. Again, they are loaded on that side of the football with some big guys on the defensive line that are future first-round NFL draft picks. And again, if they stop the run, if they can give Jalen Milroe some pressure, the defensive line is going to win the game for this Michigan team in order to upset Alabama. So again, the defensive line here is the reason why I think Michigan can beat Alabama here. Again, this is one of the top defensive linemen here in the country. Again, they're loaded with talent on that side of the football on the defensive line. This is my number 3 reason why Michigan can beat Alabama here in the playoff. Moving on to number 2, and that is the running game. So this is where Michigan is really dominant on the offensive side of the football, and that is the running game. They got some really good running backs in the backfield with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. Blake Corum obviously did not play in the college football playoff semifinal game, so we'll see him in a playoff game this year. He's had a really wonderful season, one of the top running backs in the country, and definitely one of the top running backs in the Big Ten in history of Michigan football as well. Blake Corum's got 24 rushing touchdowns on the year and 1,000 yards, 1,028 yards on the year. But don't forget about Donovan Edwards. Donovan Edwards is a great running back as well. He does have speed when he gets out of the backfield and everything. And again, it's going to come down to that offensive line. Can they give Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards plenty of room to run on this Alabama defense? Really, I don't think it's going to really be. I think it's going to be very difficult for Michigan to run the football here. But this is one of the keys here for Michigan. They have to run the football pretty well in this game in order to win. And again, it's going to come down to that offensive line. Can they protect J.J. McCarthy and also get the running game going? And again, Alabama's defense has gotten better. They do got a good secondary to stop Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards in the backfield. But again, Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards both have really big speed. And again, if Blake Corum plays his best game, and Donovan Edwards can, help him out as well, Michigan might win the day with the running game. That's how they won the Ohio State game, was their running game. Their running backs really provided enough space, and the offensive line did their work to give, these running backs plenty of room to run the football. So if Michigan can really be consistent at running the football, Michigan's probably going to win this game. Not saying they're going to. Like I said, these are just 5 reasons and keys to the game. But, again, Blake Corum has been the big story here for the running game this year for Michigan, and this is where Michigan has been so dominant in the last 3 years of college football history. Again, that's how they've been winning the Big Ten championship, and that's how they've been winning Ohio State now for the 3rd consecutive year in a row. So again, the running game is going to have to be huge in this game for Michigan. Can the offensive line, give Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards plenty of room? We'll see what they look like going into that playoff game, but again, Blake Corum missed out on the college football playoff semifinal games last year. He was out with an injury. So Donovan Edwards had to take over, but we're going to see Blake Corum in a playoff game. It's good to have him back. It's really good that he's fully healthy going into this game against Alabama, especially against that really good defense of Alabama as well. But this is my number 2 reason for Michigan to win against Alabama. That is the running game. Again, that's been their strength this year of 2023 of the college football season. But that is not my number 1 reason. Let's now go to my number 1 reason why I think Michigan will beat Alabama in the college football playoff semifinal, and that number 1 reason is motivation. So I think this is a big reason here. I know it's not really anything big, but this is a really big reason why Michigan can beat Alabama. It's just because of the motivation from the coaching staff and the motivation from this Michigan team. You look at where Michigan was in the first half of the year. Jim Harbaugh, of course, suspended in the first 3 games of the season, and then in the second half of the season, he got suspended again for the last 3 games of the regular season. And look what Michigan did without Jim Harbaugh being on the sideline. They defeated Penn State, they defeated Maryland in those close games, and then they obviously beat Ohio State in that rivalry game. So this is a motivated Michigan team, and with just this motivation, I think they have a really good chance to beat Alabama in this college football playoff game. And again, if they bring that motivation to the Alabama defense and they also bring pressure on the Alabama offense, again, that motivation is going to come here in this game for Michigan. So again, it's all about motivation for this Michigan team. Can they be motivated going into this game against Alabama? I don't think they were that motivated last year in the TCU game. Like I said, that was a high-scoring game last year. I was predicting Michigan to win, but it didn't obviously happen. So we'll see if Michigan can finally win a playoff semifinal game. It's been a rough 2 years for them. They lost to Georgia in 2021, got absolutely hammered by that Georgia defense that year, and then they obviously lost a close one to TCU last year in the college football playoff. But again, this will be a tougher test, though, because they're going up against an Alabama football program that's owned college football over the years sometimes. It hasn't been like that for the last 2 years, maybe 3 years as well. And again, some of these programs are getting better, and so is Michigan. So Michigan has been that program that's really been taking over the Big Ten, and they've also been that kind of program that's been taking over college football. Again, they're the number 1 team for a reason in the playoff rankings, and they're also number 1 heading into this game against Alabama. But again, this is my number 1 reason why Michigan can beat Alabama, is that motivation is going to be playing out a favor here for this Michigan team. And again, they'll have Jim Harbaugh in this game, so maybe that motivation comes from Jim Harbaugh as well. So this is my number 1 reason why the Michigan Wolverines can beat Alabama in the college football playoff, with motivation from both of their sides of the football and the motivation from the coaching staff as well. So this is my number 1 reason, and those are my 5 reasons why Michigan will beat Alabama in the college football playoff semifinal. Again, this is not an official prediction. My predictions won't come until after Christmas. Again, I'm going to be making predictions on all these like playoff games and everything. So again, this is not my official prediction. These are just simply like keys to the game here for Michigan to beat Alabama. And again, I'm going to do the opposite tomorrow. I'm going to do it with all the playoff teams. I'm going to do Washington tomorrow, and then I'll do Texas on Tuesday, and then I'll end things out with Alabama there on Wednesday. So stay tuned for those 5 reason videos. But again, these are my 5 reasons why the Michigan Wolverines will beat Alabama in the college football playoff semifinal. Let me guys know what you think about these 5 reasons. Do you agree or disagree? Down in the comments below, and also give me your 5 reasons why Michigan will beat Alabama in the college football playoff semifinal as well. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.